The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly from friendly chatter to cold calculation. With the threat of 25 random eliminations hanging over their heads like a guillotine, the group had to act fast. Arguments broke out like wildfire. The mid-range adults, fueled by the pressure of the clock, began to point fingers at the fringes of the age gap. If you've already lived a full life, maybe it's time to step aside. One voice cut through the noise, directed at the elders. Simultaneously, a movement began to push the children toward the exit. The logic was cold. They were too young to understand the value of the money, and the seniors had already seen the world. It was a brutal survival of the fittest, hidden behind the thin veil of a collective decision. One by one, under the immense pressure of 90 other sets of eyes, 10 individuals slowly stepped across the red line, some left in tears, others with a shrug of defeat. The countdown hit 0 just as the 10th person exited, narrowly saving the rest from the chaos of a random, but the relief was short-lived. The narrator watched as the group, once a unified circle of 100, began to fracture into smaller, secretive tribes. They realized that friendship was merely a tool, and the person standing next to them was no longer an ally. They were an obstacle between them and $250,000. As the lights dimmed for the first night, the silence in the room was heavier than the noise had ever been. Everyone was awake, staring into the dark, wondering who would be the next target of the group's mercy. Minutes ticked by in a suffocating silence. Not a single person moved toward the exit. Finally, one voice tried to break the deadlock. "If 7 others join me, I'll walk away right now. Any takers?" But the only response was cold silence and guarded stares. In this high-stakes game of the greater good, everyone felt they were the one who deserved to stay. Some turned their sights on the children. "Why don't you just leave and go back to your games?" a contestant suggested. The child didn't blink. "No way, I'm staying until the end." When logic failed, people turned to bribery. One adult even promised to buy a young boy his favorite video game if he would just step over the red line. A few players, like number 89, decided to sacrifice their spot for the group, but the numbers were still far off. The room quickly dissolved into a courtroom of desperation. Struggling students pleaded for the prize to pay for their education, while younger players argued that the seniors already had pensions and didn't need the windfall. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The countdown hit 0, and the reality was brutal because they couldn't reach a consensus. The random elimination protocol was triggered. A cold, mechanical machine took over the role of judge and jury. One by one, ping-pong balls were drawn and lives were changed. Number 18, number 85, number 82. With every number called, a heavy sigh of despair filled the air. By the time the final ball, number 13, was drawn, a quarter of the room was gone. "This is heartless," the survivors whispered, watching the empty spaces where their peers had stood just moments ago. Every time a number was announced, their hearts skipped a beat, fearing the next one would be theirs. The remaining 67 contestants were sent back to their quarters for a brief rest, but it was merely the calm before a much larger storm. By the time the sun rose on the second day, the sheer psychological weight of the challenge had broken several more spirits. Many chose to quit on their own terms, leaving only 55 challengers remaining. A new day has dawned, and the stakes have been raised once again. The mission is simple yet impossible. If they can reach a unanimous decision to pick just one winner, the ordeal ends now. But with $250,000 on the line, who among them is willing to be the stepping stone for someone else's fortune? The pressure in the room hit a boiling point. The prompt was simple. If the group could unanimously choose one person to take the $250,000, the game would end instantly. But as soon as the names started flying, number 14, number 11, it was clear that harmony was a fantasy. With even a single dissenting vote, the peace was shattered. "Fine," the command echoed. "Since you cannot agree on a winner, we move to the next trial. Every row must now elect a captain. Choose wisely, because your lives are now in their hands." The room fractured into frantic huddles. For 15 minutes, the air was thick with desperate negotiations. "Do you want to lead? I'll do it. Just don't let us get cut." In one row, the group rallied behind number 30. In another, number 64 stepped forward with a confident nod. "I have the grit to see this through," he promised his row. Once the captains were chosen, the true nature of the cruel round was revealed. A stack of cash brought out, a direct temptation. If a captain took the money, they would walk away with a guaranteed prize, but every single person in their row would be immediately eliminated. "The opening bid is $1,000, the offer began. "I'm not budging," number 42 barked, eyes locked forward. "I won't sell out my team for $1,000. Number 14 agreed, telling his row not to worry. But then, the stakes rose. "How about $5,000? All you have to do is nod, take the cash, and send your entire row home." The pleas from the rows became frantic. "Number 42, please don't do this to us," they begged. "I'm staying strong," 42 replied, though the sweat was starting to bead on his forehead. Meanwhile, number 30 whispered a silent hope that his wife would support whatever choice he made next. Then came the hammer blow. "We are moving the price to $10,000. The captain stared at the money. $10,000 in the hand, or a slim chance at $250,000 for the group. The silence that followed was terrifying. They were no longer just teammates. They were liabilities, and the price of betrayal was climbing. The tension in the room thickened until it was almost impossible to breathe. $20,000. The offer rang out. "I'll keep raising the stakes until someone breaks." The rows of contestants were in a frenzy, clinging to their captains like anchors in a storm. "Don't you dare move," they hissed, but the pressure was mounting. When the offer jumped to $50,000, the cracks finally began to show. The captain's eyes, once fixed with iron resolve, started to dart toward the stacks of cash. "Let's go big," the voice teased, sensing the shift. 18,000, now 90,000 in a second case. And we're not done yet. Then the final blow, 100,000 in cold, hard cash. The captains, number 14, 30, 42, 64, and 100, stood like statues under a scorching sun. "Whoever walks out that door right now takes the entire 100,000, the challenge declared. "The pressure is crushing me," number 30 gasped, his voice trembling. "Don't do it. Everyone will hate you," his teammates screamed. For a heartbeat, there was a terrifying silence. Then, number 30 moved. He stepped across the red line and out of the room. The reaction was instant and explosive. "Are you kidding me? You traitor!" The room erupted in a chorus of boos and disbelief. Because number 30 took the money. The entire 20-year-old and 30-year-old age groups were wiped out in an instant. They were led out of the arena, their dreams of the grand prize shattered by the very man they had trusted to lead. "I had to do it for my son," number 30 whispered, clutching his reward while refusing to meet the eyes of the people he had just betrayed. "This money will take care of him for a long, long time." The betrayal left the remaining contestants shaken to their core. Witnessing such cold-blooded calculation, the 40-year-old age group immediately huddled together. They formed a desperate, ironclad alliance, swearing that no one else would sell out the group. But as the clock for the final vote began to tick, a question remained. Is an alliance strong enough to withstand the next wave of greed? The unanimous vote failed once again. In this arena, trust is a currency no one is willing to spend. With the prize money still unclaimed, the game shifted into a high-stakes spin of fate. The Great Wheel of Ages. The rules were cold. The wheel featured the ages of the remaining 36 contestants. With each spin, a player would be selected, and their survival would depend entirely on the whim of the person currently in control. The goal? Whittle the group down to a final 20. The first spin landed on number 55. The person holding the power, number 67, had a simple choice. Eliminate 55 or let them stay. "Any last words?" the host asked number 55. "I've enjoyed the ride," 55 replied with a calm shrug. "Good luck to everyone. I won't beg, because if I were in your shoes, I'd probably cut me too." Seeing that 55 was at peace with the outcome, number 67 didn't hesitate. "I choose to eliminate her." And just like that, the first seat was vacated. The wheel spun again, landing on number 47. "Please, show some mercy," 47 whispered. "I really want to stay." Moved by the request, the controller chose to let 47 remain. But there was a catch. Because 47 survived, the power to decide the next fate passed directly to them. "If you eliminate the next 15 people in a row, you're safe," the host noted. "But that's a lot of blood on your hands." The 40s alliance began to flex its muscles. When number 43 was selected, 47 stayed loyal. "Stay with the team," 47 said firmly. "We have to stick together." The alliance was proving to be a steel wall until the wheel landed on number 66. Number 43 now held the power. The elder, number 66, looked on with a hopeful smile. "It's been an honor meeting you all, but I'd love to keep going." The air in the room grew heavy. Number 43 was torn, eyes welling up with tears. But as the 40s alliance watched closely, the pressure of the grand prize began to outweigh the bonds of friendship. To protect the collective interest of their core group, a heartbreaking decision was looming. "I like you," 43 whispered to the elder, "but for the sake of the team, I have to let you go." The arena turned cold as the 40s alliance tightened its grip. The elder, number 66, stood dignified as the sentence was passed. "I'm so sorry," the controller whispered, voice cracking, "but for the sake of the team, I have to let you go." With a final wave, the senior exited, leaving the group in a heavy, guilty silence. The 40-year-olds had figured out the game. As long as they kept the power to decide, they were invincible. To relinquish the vote was to invite their own destruction. It was no longer a game of chance. It was a targeted purge. The wheel spun and landed on number 57. Since the controller didn't even know them, the decision was instant. "You're out." Next came number 65. Despite the visible heartache of the decision, the alliance held firm. "I understand the pain," one member muttered, "but we cannot be soft. If we let someone stay, they get the power, and they will come for us." Then, the wheel landed on number 11, a bright-eyed boy named Geo. The room went still. This wasn't just another number. This was a child who had charmed everyone with his spirit. The host handed Geo the microphone, giving him a final chance to save himself. "I know you're a good person," Geo said, his small voice echoing through the silent room. "I believe in you. I know you won't send me home." The crowd began to chant, "Let him stay. Let him stay." The controller looked at the boy, his expression a mask of conflict. "Geo," he began, "you are the coolest 11-year-old I've ever met. You are full of light, and your future is going to be incredible. But unfortunately, your journey here ends now. I am so sorry." A collective gasp of shock rippled through the survivors. The 40s Alliance had just eliminated a child to protect their own interests. To soften the blow, the host brought Geo to the stage for a round of applause. But the message was clear. No one outside the Alliance was safe. The purge continued with ruthless efficiency. Number 17 was cut. Then number 16, who pleaded to stay so she could help her sick great-grandmother, was also sent packing. "I'm proud of you," her family whispered as she left, but the tears in the room were mounting. Miraculously, the wheel refused to land on anyone from the 40s group. It was as if fate itself was siding with the aggressors. Number 52 was the next to fall. The 40s Alliance stood like a fortress, watching as the rest of the field was whittled away to nothing. The tension reached a peak as the wheel slowed down once more. For the first time, it landed on the controller's own group. "Will you eliminate yourself to save the others?" I asked. "I choose to stay," he replied. He wasn't here to be a martyr. The wheel spun again and again, and the carnage continued. Number 75 was cut. Then, number 62. It was a brutal, mechanical purge. Number 62 didn't even bother to beg. He looked the controller, number 43, in the eye and prepared to leave. "I'll miss you, old friend," 43 muttered, perhaps trying to soothe his own conscience. "You're a villain," 62 replied simply, "but I understand your pain. You've become cold to survive." Without another word, he walked out. With only one spot left to decide the final 20, I decided to lighten the heavy atmosphere. I brought out some of the world's best chocolate milk for everyone to enjoy. Even those who had been eliminated got a taste. It was a small moment of sweetness in a bitter game. Finally, the wheel turned and landed on a new member of the 40s group, number 41. "I love you, man," the previous controller said, passing over the power. "I'm handing the fate of the room to you." The very first spin for the new leader landed on the most respected man in the room, the 100-year-old gentleman. The room fell into a deathly silence. "Is there anything you want to say to the man who holds your fate?" I asked the centenarian. "I hope you don't cast me out," the old man said softly. "Please, let me stay a little longer." Number 41 looked pained. "Sir, I am so sorry. I wish you a long, healthy, and happy life, but goodbye." The room was devastated. To see the oldest contestant forced out was almost too much to bear, but I couldn't let him leave with nothing. For his incredible spirit and for reaching the age of 100, I awarded him a $20,000 consolation prize. He left with a smile, grateful for the journey. As the dust settled, the remaining players were exhausted. The 40s Alliance was now the most hated group in the room. "I despise them," a woman from the 50s group hissed. "They destroyed us. If they were in power, they would have done the same to us," a member of the 40s group whispered back. The lesson was clear. In this room, trust is a fairy tale. The survivors were given a few hours to rest. But the biggest decision was still ahead. Would they finally be able to vote for a single winner, or would the greed continue to burn everything down? The standoff continued. It was becoming clear that a unanimous vote was a pipe dream, so the game evolved into its most treacherous form yet. "Look closely," I told the final 20. "Here is a briefcase with $250,000, and over there, another briefcase with the exact same amount. Right now, someone has the chance to walk away with one of them." A wave of shock rippled through the survivors, but before the rules were revealed, I ordered the crew to drop heavy black curtains over every single room. The contestants were now isolated, unable to see or speak to one. The 40s Alliance was instantly severed. Without communication, there could be no unity, only suspicion. "The rules are simple," I announced through the speakers. "If exactly one person walks out of their room right now, they eliminate themselves, but take the $250,000 home immediately. However, if more than one person steps out, everyone who stepped out is eliminated, and no one gets a single penny." The clock started ticking. Inside the darkened rooms, the psychological pressure was immense. Player 42 was pacing like a caged predator. "I already watched $100,000 slip through my fingers today," he muttered to the empty walls. "I am not letting this chance go. This money is mine." He prepared to bolt, but he knew the risk. If someone else had the same idea, they would both crash and burn. Meanwhile, over in room 64, the tension was just as high. "Are you going?" a voice called out from a neighboring room before the silence took over. "I'm going," was the reply. It was a classic stalemate. The players knew that if they all rushed for the exit, they would would destroy each other, but the allure of $250,000 was a powerful drug. Player 42 was determined to use every ounce of his will to be the one who claimed the prize, even if it meant betting everything on the greed of the others. The silence in the hallway was deafening. Every ear was pressed against a door, listening for the click of a latch or the sound of a footstep. In this game of chicken, the first step could lead